Welcome to Not Starving Artist, the podcast. I'm your host, Brooke Benson, money coach and equity actor. I am your financial cheerleader, here to help you build your financial confidence and have power over your money. The best part, no budgeting or bi-weekly paychecks required. I went from being a broke BFA grad having weekly panic attacks about money to a financially confident, wealth-building actor and business owner. Money gets to feel fun, simple, and sexy, and I am going to show you how.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. We're talking about spending money today, making spending decisions. And the title of this podcast episode, How to Tell Yourself No in a Healthy Way When You're Choosing What to Spend Money On. This is a question directly from one of my private clients, and I decided that all of you needed to hear what we talked about on our coaching call that day. Because the real root of this question is, how do I make healthy financial decisions without telling myself no, without feeling like I'm depriving or restricting myself? How do I do it in a way that doesn't feel shitty? How do I support myself now while also supporting myself in the future? All of those are less snappy podcast titles. So that's what we're diving into today. And why this question came up is because when we were talking on our weekly private coaching call, she was heading into a pretty crazy rehearsal week for a show that was opening. Side note, I have so many clients right now that are producing, directing, and acting in really cool projects that I get to see this month. Like, I don't know what it is about the month of August, but it was like bang, bang, bang. So I've gone to see 2 already. I'm going to see another one lined up here in the near future. And part of what this question was revolved around is this crazy rehearsal week and spending in navigating just like busyness and chaos, and also eating out and meal prepping. So there was a lot of spending decisions surrounding, okay, now I'm in like go mode for producing this show, from putting the show on. So the question of how to tell yourself no in a healthy way, the first thing I said was, we just need to focus on what you're saying yes to instead of what you're saying no to. And that sounds very simple and that sounds like a platitude, but we're about to do a deep dive on this. Get ready for some Sylvia Plath, because I'm about to whip her out in a minute. You're focusing on your yeses instead of your nos. That's how you tell yourself no in a healthy way. Because it's actually like, we need to eliminate no from your vocabulary, because anytime, I don't know about y'all, but my personality, all my astrology, all my human design, every personality test, it's a big middle fucking finger to being told what to do. So even if it's me telling myself what to do, I tend to be like, so what if I don't? Fuck you, I do what I want. Like, sometimes it's not great having that strong of a bent towards that side of things, but what it has taught me to do is never tell myself no, meaning anytime I make a decision where there is a yes and a no on a table, I'm always focusing on what I'm saying yes to. Because at the end of the day, every single decision you make in your lifetime will always have a yes and a no attached to it. You literally cannot escape there being no's attached to your yeses. What do I mean by that? I mean that if I choose to take a nap over going for a workout in the 90-minute break I have in my day, that means I'm saying yes to resting my body and saying no to building muscle for my body. That is the most neutral version of the yeses and the nos, right? You're probably going to have a lot of like weight and thoughts about what the yeses and the nos mean, but that's what it means, that there's always going to be a yes or a no. If you say yes to spending all of your savings on a last-minute trip that all of your friends want to take to Europe, that means you're saying no to having that money in your savings, right? So like, very neutrally, there is always going to be a yes and a no. So your job is, instead of focusing on what you're saying no to, it's focusing on what you're saying yes to. So in that last example, right, saying yes to the trip and then no to the savings, if you flop it, it's saying yes to the savings and no to the trip, right? So in your brain, when you're initially presented with this decision. It's like, oh my God, I don't want to tell myself no. Like, I'm feeling really sad that I have to tell myself no to this trip because it's the responsible thing to do or whatever. Like, no. It's about choosing to focus on, I'm saying yes to keeping 3 months ahead of bills in my savings account because I know that that brings me peace, that gives me wiggle room and flexibility and time in between my next gigs, right? When my survival job won't take me back because I've been gone for too long and I need to come back, and instead of getting a new survival job before I have to leave again in 2 months, I can just ride out those 2 months of just enjoying the city in between jobs. Like, you're saying yes to that. But we forget to focus on the yeses because we're so caught up in like, oh, I don't want to tell myself no and I really want that thing. Like, you're forgetting that there's a million other yeses on the table that you could choose, okay? So you're actually moving forward, not ever going to tell yourself no again. You're just going to present financial decisions in front of you, put them on the plate in front of yourself, and choose what you want to say yes to. So, as promised, Sylvia Plath. This is an excerpt from The Bell Jar. It's the fig tree excerpt. This excerpt has haunted me for years since I first discovered it. So get ready to feel a little existential, but also a lot of clarity and maybe a light bulb moment of an epiphany. Ready? I saw my life branching out before me like the green fig tree in the story. From the tip of every branch, like a fat purple fig, a wonderful future beckoned and winked. One fig was a husband and a happy home and children, and another fig was a famous poet, and another fig was a brilliant professor, and another fig was E.G., the amazing editor, and another fig was Europe and Africa and South America, and another fig was Constantine and Socrates and Attila and a pack of other lovers with queer names and offbeat professions, and another fig was an Olympic lady crew champion, and beyond and above these figs were many more figs I couldn't quite make out. I saw myself sitting in the crotch of this fig tree, starving to death, just because I couldn't make up my mind which of the figs I would choose. I wanted each and every one of them, but choosing one meant losing all the rest. And as I sat there, unable to decide, the figs began to wrinkle and go black, and one by one, they plopped to the ground at my feet. Cool. So now that we're all there together, the point of reading that is because truly, when you choose something, you're always saying no to about 1,600 other things, right? On the most minute level. When you choose what to eat for lunch, you are saying yes to the veggie burger in your fridge, and you're saying no to the chicken tenders in your freezer, the meal prepped rice bowl that you have from cooking yesterday. You're saying no to McDonald's. You're saying no to the restaurant across the street. You're saying no to eating a full plate of fruit. You're saying no to not eating lunch. Like, do you see what I mean? So what you need to focus on is what your yes is. Okay? And just like in why I also wanted to read that passage is to illustrate that there's no right or wrong. There's no correct fig to choose. The example that I gave earlier, right, of like spend all of your savings on the last minute trip or keep your savings and stay 3 months ahead on bills. There is no right choice there. I need you to hear that again. There's no right choice there. It's, have you made that decision, truly putting all of the factors on the table, and can you say yes with your full chest and back that decision 10 years from now? Okay? Either decision gets to be correct as long as you have laid out all of the factors, you have made the decision, and you can say it with your full chest, and you're not going to regret it 10 years from now. That's how you know you've made the correct decision for you. Now, a lot of this financial content out there, a lot of money books, they will try and give you formulas for like how how much you need to be saving for each paycheck, and here's when to know if you're able to go on that vacation, or how much you're able to spend on X, Y, and Z if your income is this and whatever. And like, sure, some of those guidelines can be helpful, but a lot of times we just end up using them as beating sticks when we want to make a choice that's outside of the financially responsible norms, because our gut is telling us that that's the right decision. I'm going to give you an example here. I wasn't planning on talking about this, but I'm going to, because I think this is important. When my partner and I were moving to New York, while we were in Denver, so we had moved from Florida to Denver because we were living in Florida during the pandemic, and we were like, we gotta go. We gotta get away from this place. Love the geography, and that's pretty much all I miss about it. So when we moved to Denver, we decided together that my partner was gonna leave his job, and he was gonna career pivot, right? And so what happened is my partner was actually unemployed for about 8 or 9 months until he got the job at the company that he's in now. And he's absolutely thriving now. But at that time, I was self-employed and I was growing my business, and my business wasn't as stable as it is now at that time. So we were living on just my income. We were also living in a higher cost of living city. We were living in Denver. We were also planning a move to New York City while my partner did not have an offer letter, right? And even though I was, at the time we moved, like making the amount of money I needed to prove to a landlord that we could afford the apartment we live in now. For those of you who are self-employed freelancers, right? Landlords don't trust any income that is not a 9-to-5 income. So it was really scary to try and get that apartment, right? And I was making investments in my business at a level that, like, if a financial advisor came in and looked at our finances on paper, they would say, you are fucking crazy. Brady, you need to go get a job at some retail shop immediately so money can start coming in. Brooke, stop investing in your business. You need to keep as much cash in the bank as possible so you can prove that you have as much assets as possible, and so that you guys are able to move. But guess what? You're not going to move yet because you need X amount back in the bank and you need secure jobs before you are confident enough to move. That's what, like, all of the on paper, correct, responsible financial advice would have told us to do. But what we had gut feelings where we were like, we are on this path. We are moving at this time. I know that we both know Brady's going to get this job. I believe in my business and I know this is happening, and we need to get our asses to New York. And here we are, like, we are continually blown away by how everything shook out. But that's what I mean by, like, going against traditional money advice to do what's right for your gut instincts, for what you truly believe is the correct thing for you to do in the moment. So if you understand your money and you are intentional with how you are managing that money, and you make decisions with intentionality around your money, or decisions around your life that then affect your money, but you're doing it with full presence, you can't make a wrong money decision. I want you to think about the times that you have spent money on something, made a financial decision, etc., that you ended up regretting. I want you to think about the circumstances in which you made that decision. Now, most of the time, those decisions that we regret the most are because we didn't make them with full intentionality. We were in a bit of a blackout, in a bit of a numbing phase, or in a bit of a, like, tunnel vision, like right here, right now kind of moment, or not really thinking. The other reason we tend to feel regret is the other version of decision making, which is just feeling ashamed or guilty for how much you didn't know, or, like, you know, hindsight is 20/20. I was like, what the fuck is that phrase? Hindsight is 20/20, right? We look back and we're like, oh, if only I knew how investing worked, I would have started investing at this or whatever. And it's like, okay, that's just when we need, like, the big, warm, compassionate hug for our past selves who just, like, literally didn't have the information available to them to know to make a different decision, even though they were, like, fully present and intentional with how they were managing their money or whatever. That's a different kind of thing. So the only times we regret financial decisions usually is when they're not made with that full intention, right? And there's not a full understanding of your whole financial picture, okay? So there is no right or wrong. It's just what you choose and what you don't choose. So how to tell yourself no in a healthy way when choosing what to spend money on is just deciding what you are choosing to spend your money on in that moment. So when I say that, if you are deciding, and let's go with a small example. Let's say Uber Eats. You've had a really long day, a really tired day. I'm about to get my period, so I'm having one of those days, right? You get to at the end of a day like this, and a lot of things needed to get done, and you're really tired, and you're really worn out, and you don't want to eat the shit that's in your fridge, and you're like, fuck it. I just want to order DoorDash. Let me just get that burger into my mouth without having to move 1 foot, right? In that moment, you have choices, right? And here are the choices. It's order DoorDash would be saying yes to convenience and ease and a burger in your mouth, right? You could also say yes to keeping that $27 in your bank account and heating up the leftovers in your fridge, right? Which would be saying yes to $27 staying in your checking account. You could also say yes to, let's say, $15 leaving your checking account because you're going to go walk, because maybe that's good for your body and your health for what you've gone through today. Emotional health, I mean. Walk, leave your apartment, and go get the $15 burger and fries. Come back, sit on your couch, and now you have an extra $12 in your bank account. Did I do that math right? Yeah. I can't remember what numbers I said before. So, like, you have multiple options on the table. That's only 3 options, right? Now, so it's not about, like, saying yes to DoorDash or no to DoorDash. It's about, hey, I have these 3 choices. Which choice do I want to say yes to? Do you see how that's different? So it's like taking... Here we are in another binary. That is garbage, because the binary is unhelpful in almost every single scenario or situation we come across. Binaries are garbage. So instead of putting yourself in the binary of like yes to DoorDash or no to DoorDash, it's, do I want to say yes to DoorDash? Do I want to say yes to DoorDash pickup? Do I want to say yes to keeping that money in my checking account and eating what I have at home? Do I want to say yes to texting my partner to see if he'll pick something up for me on the way home? Do I want to say yes to scrounging through whatever's in my cabinet and making the dinner that my 5th grade self would have loved to eat? Like, do you see how then you give yourself options and opportunity and like a little bit more freedom? Do you see how that feels different? So no more yes and no, more about putting all of your financial options on the table. Because again, these aren't just like all financial options, but if we're talking specifically with spending, you're putting all of these options on the table, and it's like yes to spending this money in this way, yes to spending money in this way, yes to keeping the money in my checking account, which is yes to spending money on my future self. So my future self has an extra $27 to play with in her flex account for the rest of this month. Shout out to the money flow method. Or am I saying yes to $27 in my savings account, right? And so when you're then choosing out of those decisions, again, there's no wrong decision. It's, do you like the choice, and then why you're choosing it. So if I choose to say yes to DoorDash tonight, I'm going to love that I chose that specific choice, because I chose the choice, that I chose that because I'm saying yes to my rest. I'm saying yes to indulgence. I'm saying yes to just like really luxuriating, because I don't get DoorDash very often, right? And so, I mean, this is another thing. Okay, I'm going to go on a tangent here in a second. Do I want to go on this tangent yet? Yeah, sure. Let's go on this tangent now. Why, like if we're taking me specifically, right, in this situation, because I don't get DoorDash very often, like it's a very, very rare instance that I do, because during a day like today, it feels like a luxurious indulgence to get something food delivered to my door, because I hardly ever do it. So do you see how then that gets to feel like a form of self-care if I choose to do it, because it's not part of my normal day-to-day routine? And why is it not a part of my normal day-to-day routine? Because what I have chosen in my normal day-to-day spending, well, one, I've chosen my physical health, right? And I have more control over my physical health if I am cooking most of my food at home. But what I'm saying yes to is financial wiggle room throughout my month. Wiggle room to if, our friends the other month came to visit and they wanted to go to a Liberty game. So we got to say yes to the Liberty game, right? Also, I just discovered Ellie. How did I not know who Ellie was until literally last month? I feel disrespected by my algorithm and by me existing in New York and not knowing who Ellie is. Go look up Ellie if you don't know what I'm talking about. I was able to say yes to that, right? I'm able to say yes to a last minute trip because I'm able to save more money every single month because I'm spending less on eating out multiple times a week. Like, that amount can really add up. And when I think about what I want to use that amount of money for, like if we're thinking about DoorDashing a few times a week over the course of a month, that's like probably a couple $100s. Right? Depending on what you're getting and where you're getting it, right? So let's just say like $250 throughout the month. That $250, when I think about what I want to say yes to with $250, instead of saying like, am I gonna say yes to DoorDash or no to DoorDash, that makes me feel cranky because I'm like, well, fuck you, I can say yes to whatever I want. Like, I'm gonna get the DoorDash. But when I say $250 over the course of a month, do I want to put that towards DoorDash? Do I want to put that towards my travel savings for the next time I want to take a plane somewhere? Do I want to say yes to an acting class? Do I want to say yes to a new printer so I don't have to keep funding the Epson gods? If you didn't hear my saga about the Epson printer ink, it's on my Instagram feed somewhere. But basically, Epson programs their printers to stop using any ink except for Epson ink, basically a few days after your warranty expires. So you have to start buying Epson branded ink, which is one of the most expensive inks out there. Anyway, I digress. I could use that to buy a new printer. There's 1,012 things. I could use that to go see like multiple off-Broadway shows over the course of the month. So like when I think about what do I want to put that money towards, I don't give a fuck about DoorDash. 6 of those other options are all way more enticing to me than DoorDash. Right? So do you see how this became less about like telling myself no to DoorDash and more about what feels good for me to put this money towards, right? So going back to immediately today in this example, right? If I tell myself yes to DoorDash today, that's going to feel like a luxurious self-care indulgence, right? I can tell you right now, I don't want to do that today, right? Because I got some delicious food in my fridge that I want to eat. But the energy of it would be like, am I saying yes to indulgence and self-care? Am I saying yes to keeping the money in my bank account and eating the delicious food I have in my fridge? Am I going to say yes to calling my man up and saying like, hey, can you pick me up the thing that I'm actually really craving and bring it home for me, right? Like, I'm getting to choose what I say yes to rather than the yes or the no of DoorDash. I'm hammering this so hard because I need to get it through your brain that this is what I want your brain to be doing when you are feeling paralyzed in that energy of, I'm going to talk about the fuck it blackout in a minute too. When you're feeling paralyzed in that, like, I really want to spend money on this thing, but I know it's irresponsible, or I know I shouldn't, or I know whatever it is that your like adult brain is trying to tell you about, right? In that moment, take that dollar amount and say, what do I want to say yes to? And take it more than like, I'm saying yes to this Lululemon set, right? It's, I'm saying yes to making a purchase this week that makes me feel in control and put together because I'm feeling a little bit of out of control. I'm feeling a little not put together, right? Or I want to buy this Lululemon set because I'm feeling really lackluster about my workouts and I'm hoping that this will help motivate me again. But be very honest about what you're saying yes to in that moment. And then do you like that yes and that reason for that yes? Because this is part of the process then. I want you to be able to back it with your full chest, to be able to yell it from the rooftops, to be able to not regret it 10 years from now, right? Not that you would regret a Lululemon set 10 years from now, but like overall spending decisions, right? You have to back those decisions no matter what. No wishing you chose it. For example, in the fig tree example, no wishing you chose a different fig. Once you choose your fig, you have chosen that fig. You better hold that fig and you better savor that fig. Because you can't go back and get yourself another fig. You only got this branch you've chosen and all the figs that are on this current branch, right? And you got to look at those figs. I've gotten a little carried away with the figs. So I also want to talk about like debt shame. This is another flavor of it, of like, you made spending decisions in the past. We talked about this earlier, right? Of like a lot of the shame and the guilt and the whatever usually comes from not being fully intentional about your decisions. If you have not listened to my podcast episode called How to Make Debt Payoff Easy and Inevitable, that is a must listen. Even if you don't have debt, if you carry any kind of shame or guilt around past financial decisions, that is a must listen. Because basically what that's going to require you to do is back all of those decisions that you made previously so that you don't carry any of that guilt and shame into the future here, right? Same with like the energy of like, I should have started investing earlier. It's the same thing. So right now, as you continue down this path of making decisions, you're allowed to choose the option of numbing out, indulgent spending because you like dopamine spending just because you need that hit. You're allowed to choose a fuck it blackout purchase, but like you have to choose it. It can't just happen unintentionally. You're allowed to choose anything as long as you do it with your full chest. That's the only way you're not going to regret it 10 years from now. Okay? So the process here is in those moments you're asking yourself, what am I saying yes to in this moment, and do I like it? If you haven't heard me talk about the fuck it blackout before, the fuck it blackout is when, like, again, you've had a hard day or like you're feeling really like itchy and jittery and you're just like, you're in your online cart and you're just like, fuck it, I want to just like buy all the things, or like, fuck it, I want to order takeout, or like, fuck it, book the flight. Like you're getting in that energy and your brain is chiming in and it's like, we have to be responsible, don't do it, remember, save money, remember we're on a financial wellness journey, or like, what would your mom say, or da-da-da-da-da. And you're like getting stressed because the urge to want to do something right now, and then like this responsible voice in the back of your brain telling you not to, just gets too overwhelming and you don't want to have to make the decision. So you just say fuck it and you black out. It's like you go dark behind the eyes and you just press purchase, press order, press buy the ticket, and you just do it and you're in this blackout. And then that usually lasts for a little bit and then you like come to, and either you feel a fuck ton of guilt and shame, or you're like, YOLO, fuck it, it's done. What's done is done. Like, I don't have to think about it because it's already done. I don't have to make a decision. We will do so much to avoid making decisions at any cost. Okay? So, like, this is where the fuck it blackout comes from. So, in that moment, the problem is the fuck it blackout, not what you would be spending money on. The vacation isn't the problem. The takeout isn't the problem. The buying everything that's in your online shopping cart isn't the problem. It's the fuck it blackout, when you lose your ability to make decisions because it all got too overwhelming and too complicated in your brain space, okay? So that's when you are moving about the world and you find yourself going into that binary of, can I have this, can I not? Do I get to get this for myself or do I not? When you've put yourself in that binary of spending, pull back and say, what do I want to say yes to in this moment? What are all of the options on the table for me? And then choose out of those options. That's the word I've been looking for this entire episode. I was like, I don't want to choose a choice. I want to choose an option. Choose an option. All of the options out for you. Like, line them out for yourself. How much autonomy that gives you. Y'all know my big mission here is autonomy, giving you as much autonomy as possible, and financial autonomy is the gateway drug to every other realm of autonomy. But autonomy just means you get to fucking choose, okay? So in those moments, you're going to give yourself a million options that are exciting to you, and then decide what you want to choose, and removing all moral weight to any of those options, because there's not. It's just, what do you want, why, and can you back it? Can you give it a big old Brooke stamp of approval? Insert your name stamp of approval. Can you sign off on it? one of my recent podcast interviews with my client Cameron, we were talking about this, right? Like one of the biggest things for him was signing off on those decisions, even if they aren't necessarily the ones that a financial expert would tell you to do. You can sign off on it because you have gone through these questions and you've had full intentionality around making that decision. So what I want to tell you now, if you need support here, I have 2 ways that you can work with me right now. One is my online course, Cashed Up Creatives. So this is a self-study course. You can binge all the content in 1 week. One of my most recent clients did that, which I am obsessed with because that's how I am when I get an online course. I just binge it all right away. Or you can take your time going through the content over the course of a year, over the course of 6 months, over the course of 3 years. I don't recommend taking that long to go through it, but you have lifetime access to the content. But for the rest of 2025, I'm hosting free office hours with me as a bonus. So every single month, there's a section of time, and it's always in the portal when those office hours are going to be. You fill out a form to submit for coaching or getting your questions answered, and we get on a call live and we answer all of those things. So you get live support with me as you are going through this content. One of the modules in the course is all about spending and saving and how to spend guilt-free. There's a lot of tools and mindset shifts of how you think about spending. And alongside of this, you're going to learn how to implement the 4-step anti-budget money strategy. So this is how you can get 3 months ahead on bills, invest your first or next $1,000, boost your savings, and hit whatever money goal you want, but without having to use a spreadsheet, to budget, to micromanage your spending. It's going to teach you how to set up your own cash flow system, which is the simplest and best way for freelancers, creatives, or self-employed people to manage their money. I mean, I'm going to throw in biweekly paycheck people here too. I have heard from 9-to-5ers that this is their favorite way to manage money. If my man was in here, I would pull him into the screen and he would be one of the biggest proponents of the money flow method as a 9-to-5 biweekly paychecker. A lot of my clients have biweekly paychecks that swear by the money flow method. But you're going to learn to set this up for yourself. So you're going to have full awareness of your money and your full financial picture so that when you are making these spending decisions, when you are laying out all of your options, you actually fully understand your financial options and what's in front of you. You actually have things that are exciting for you when you think about your financial future. So it's easier to put your money towards your savings and your future self because you're actually excited about what that means. You actually understand what that means. So that's Cashed Up Creatives. Now, the other way to work with me is one-on-one money mentorship. This is private coaching. So this means that every single week we are getting on a one-on-one Zoom call and we are coaching you through all of the things that you want to work on in your financial life. So you also do get access to the Cashed Up Creatives video portal. So you're able to work through that whole curriculum. You get all of those resources as well for the duration of a one-on-one coaching package, which is 3 months long. But then during our weekly coaching sessions, we are, of course, going to set up your cash flow system. We are going to personalize it to you to make sure, like I always give this example, like one of my clients, her landlord would like cash 3 rent checks all at one time and then would like wait another 4 months to cash the next ones. And it was really messing with her bank accounts because she never knew what money she actually had. So we set up a separate checking account and got her checks for that account that she would always put her rent into. So it was basically a separate section of her money flow so her landlord could be on some fuck shit while she was still in full control of her dollars. So it's things like that that we can work on. If you have your own business, I recommend one-on-one money mentorship over Cashed Up Creatives because you also get the video portal, but we're going to be able to create 2 separate money flows for you, one for your business and one for your personal life. Make sure that you're able to pay yourself consistently and understand your business finances versus your personal finance very clearly. And inside of those weekly calls, they're deep dives, right? So when it comes to this spending stuff, one of the things that I'm actually doing with one of my one-on-one clients right now is spending is one of the things that is like a root wound, right? And so every week we're going to go through what she spent money on and really dissect, like, did she like it? Did she not? What was she saying yes to? What was happening? Basically dismantling like peeling apart the layers to each of those decisions in each of those moments and shining a big flashlight on what's actually happening, because it actually doesn't take a lot of willpower to change your financial habits. It just takes looking at them for long enough for the behavior to change itself. If it's a behavior you don't like, right? And sometimes that can feel really icky and that can feel really scary, but that's why I offer private coaching containers like this, because I want to be able to virtually hold your hand and support you through that. The other thing we do here is we create 3 money goals that you want to hit over the course of the 3 months we have together. And we're going to create very specific action plans to accomplish them over the next 3 months. Make sure that you are held accountable every single week in hitting all of those things. You get homework and things to work on throughout the week, so that we always have things to dive into and dissect when we get to our weekly call time. So if you're interested in one-on-one money mentorship, the link to book a sales call with me and learn more is in the show notes as well. There's a page of testimonials if you want to hear from past clients and understand all the details of the package. And then booking a sales call, that's when you and I get on a call. I've had some questions about sales calls before. Sales calls are totally free. That is the chance for you to get to know me on a more personal level and me to get to know you on a more personal level, so we can make sure that it's a good fit before we start working together. So that's where you'll hear my perspective and my plans lined out for you of like, here's exactly what we're going to work on and what we're going to accomplish and how. Is this something you would be interested in? So you are not coming into a coaching container blind, because I want you to have that full information. And I also want to have that full information before we start working in that kind of mentorship capacity together. So all that information is in the links in the show notes. Remember, this week, what am I saying yes to in this moment? And do I like that reason? Those are the questions that I want going through your head all the time. Have a great week, y'all.
Thanks so much for tuning in. Come join me on Instagram for more on how to build a simple, sexy relationship with your money. My Instagram handle is @NotStarvingArtists. And if you want to dive deeper with me, head to the show notes to learn more about one-on-one coaching. If you love this episode, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend that you want to get rich with.